Millionaire discovers hidden language as waitress soothes crying child, shocking truth unveiled. In the dim light of the diner, the air pulsed with hushed whispers and clattering dishes. A wealthy businessman, clad in an expensive suit that spoke of power and privilege, sat in a corner booth. His pristine hands were clenched around a coffee cup, sweat glistening on his brow. It wasn't the usual crowd. Tonight something was off. It was the way the shadows danced too eagerly, like they were hiding secrets, dark, tantalizing secrets that were just waiting to be uncovered. Then, the piercing wail of a child sliced through the tension, a raw shriek that reverberated off the walls. All heads turned toward the source. A young mother, frazzled and desperate, fretted over her little boy who sat trembling in his seat, tears streaming down his face. She whispered comforting words, but they seemed to disappear into the ether, swallowed whole by the din. The millionaire's eyes darted to her, and a sense of urgency gripped him. Something was tugging at the back of his mind, like a haunting melody he couldn't quite recognize. Suddenly, a waitress, with bright red lipstick and a warm smile, swooped in. Her presence seemed to light up the room, her hands deftly reaching for the child. She knelt down, swathed in an aura of calm that was almost otherworldly. As she bent closer, her voice lowered to a soothing hum, the kind you'd expect from a lullaby. But what happened next took everyone by surprise. The child's cries began to fade, as if the very air around them had shifted, capturing the attention of everyone present. It was more than mere comfort. It felt like an unspoken language floated between them, weaving through the diner like a delicate thread. A chill raced through the millionaire. He leaned closer, straining to catch every word, every tonal shift. What was she saying? What was this strange connection? The other diners were frozen, wide-eyed and puzzled. Murmurs of disbelief rippled through the crowd. Did you see that? How can she do that? I've never heard anyone speak to a child like that. The tension thickened, as if some unseen force had gripped them, drawing them into the mystery unfolding before their eyes. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the last notes of the waitress's soothing tones wrapped around the sobbing child, something unsettling flickered in the millionaire's gut. It felt like he was peering into a curtain lifted ever so slightly, revealing an extraordinary world just out of sight. He could feel his pulse quickening, each beat a drum urging him to uncover what lay beneath. What was this hidden language? And why did it feel like it held the weight of the world? With mounting intrigue, he glanced at the mother and then back to the waitress, whose eyes sparkled with an enigmatic allure. Just as he thought he could read her expression, she stood and sauntered away, leaving the millionaire with 1,000 questions swirling in his mind. He couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was just the beginning of something monumental. What secrets were lurking in the shadows of this unassuming diner? And why did he feel a compulsion to find out? The millionaire's breath hitched as his mind raced. He glanced around the diner, the once comforting ambience now oppressive. The glances of other patrons felt like weights pressing down on him, each one echoing his own confusion. Did they all sense it? This invisible thread connecting them, charged with mystery? Panic seized him. What if he was the only one to understand how monumental this was? The waitress had vanished behind the counter, her laughter mingling with the clattering of dishes. But that wasn't enough for him. He needed answers. Even the mother seemed oblivious to the magic that had just unfolded. She was busy wiping her son's cheeks dry, a puzzled frown etching deeper lines on her brow. Suddenly, the air thickened, heavy with expectancy. His gut tightened as he looked past the counter, watching the waitress chat with another customer, her smile radiant yet distant. What did that smile hide? There was something almost uncanny about the way she interacted with people, as if she had her own set of rules. He pushed himself up from the booth, his mind racing. "Excuse me," he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. The words seemed to crack like glass in the tense atmosphere. She turned, her eyes catching his like headlights in the night. He started towards her but hesitated, the words lodged in his throat. What was he even going to ask? Why did it matter? Can I talk to you for a minute?" The waitress tilted her head, a twinkle flickering in her eyes. "Sure thing, what's on your mind?" He warranted her the briefest smile, feeling like a fool. How did you do that?" Her brow furrowed, but the smile never faltered. "Do what?" calmed the child. "I've never seen anything like it," he trailed off, his voice faltering. She lowered her voice, leaning closer. "It's not about what I did. It's about what he needed to hear." A shiver ran down his spine. It was more than a simple skill. It was knowledge, understanding and innate wisdom he had yet to comprehend. "What did you say to him?" he pressed, desperate for answers. She flickered like a candle, her demeanor shifting. Not all languages are spoken aloud. Before he could respond, another customer rushed to her side, pulling her attention away. Disappointment clawed at him as she turned away, leaving him with nothing but questions that echoed loudly in the confines of his mind. Staring at the door, his heart raced. He needed to follow her, to understand what lay within this strange connection. What if there was more to her gift, to this hidden language that threaded through the shadows? Just then, a loud crash shattered the diner's uneasy quiet. A man stumbled through the entrance, wide-eyed with panic. "Help! Someone's after me!" The atmosphere thickened instantly, and all eyes turned toward the newcomer. The waitress froze, color draining from her face. He could see the fear mirrored in her eyes, a fear that seemed familiar, almost comforting in its intensity. The millionaire's heart thudded. Suddenly, the earlier mystery was gone, replaced by an urgency that thrummed under his skin. What did the man know? Why was the waitress so affected? As he moved to the door, a sense of purpose ignited within him. Answers were hidden somewhere in this chaos, he could feel it. He would chase down the truth, linking it to the melodies and shadows that had woven through his night. But as he stepped forward, the waiter behind the counter locked eyes with him and whispered, "Be careful what you uncover." A chill crept up his spine. What had he just stepped into? And just like that, the hairs on his neck stood up. What awaited him beyond that door? The man who had burst through the diner's door looked like he had run a marathon in a matter of moments. His shirt clung to his skin, soaked with sweat, and his eyes darted around the room, taking in the scene like a deer caught in headlights. "Please, you have to help me!" he cried again, voice cracking under the weight of his fear. The millionaire could feel the growing tension in the air. The waitress, who seemed so serene just moments ago, became a fragile figure in this tempestuous storm. He moved closer, compelled by an invisible force he couldn't name. "What's going on?" he asked, not directed at anyone in particular, but hoping someone would shed light on the madness. The newcomer swallowed hard, his throat working like a machine. "I was just walking down Maple Street. They followed me. I don't know who they are, but they want to take something." He paused, glancing back through the doorway as if expecting shadows to emerge. A murmur rippled through the tiny diner. Patrons leaned in closer, their conversations dying out as attention turned to the unfolding drama. The mother who had been cleaning her son's face now clutched him tightly, her eyes wide and glistening with a mix of compassion and fear. The waitress stepped forward, her expression shifting from shock to determination. "You're safe here. Just take a deep breath," she urged, her voice soothing. But even she couldn't mask the tremor in her tone, a crack in the veneer of calm she'd so expertly maintained until now. He glanced between the terrified man and the waitress, sensing that he was witnessing something greater than a mere panic attack. There was a connection here, an energy passed between them. If only he understood the source. "What do you mean, something they want to take?" the millionaire pressed, his chest tightening. Thereafter the man's voice dropped to a whisper, panic morphing into urgency. "A secret. A secret that changes everything." The waitress shot him a sharp look, panic flashing in her eyes. Stop! You can't say any more. Her hand shot out, as if to physically restrain his words. A heavy silence hung in the air, pregnant with revelation yet laden with fear. The millionaire's mind raced. What secret? What truth could be so dangerous? His heart hammered in his chest, and anxiety clawed at him. There was a priceless mystery straining to be unveiled, and he could sense it right there in the diner, hovering like smoke before him. Suddenly, the air shifted again, a chill crawling up his spine. The door creaked open slightly, revealing a shadow standing just outside. The diner froze, breath hitched, eyes fixed on the silhouette, which shifted and seemed to pulse with dark intent. What did I tell you about drawing too much attention? A voice cut through the silence, low and menacing. As the shadow stepped into the light, he recognized the familiar face, a nameless figure from the fringes of his past, someone who had threads tied to secrets he had long since tried to forget. The millionaire's mind reeled. Was this chaos somehow connected to him? With a heart racing in his throat, he took a step back, feeling jealousy and dread weave through the very fabric of his existence. The waitress was still resolute, standing like a guardian between the doorway and the terrified man. "You're not taking him," she said, steel interlacing her tone. What lay ahead? Could the secrets they were hiding threaten their very existence? The tension electrified the room, poised on the edge of a storm. As he stood frozen, the stakes escalated around him. Everything felt like a crumbling sandcastle, fragile and vulnerable. What was the link between the waitress, the frightened man, and the secrets that loomed like unwelcome shadows? And just then, the shadow stepped forward, the weight of the world hanging on his next words. The man stepped into the diner with an unsettling calmness that belied the chaos swirling like a storm outside. His eyes were dark pits of intent, scanning the room like a predator assessing its prey. Tension hung thick in the air, almost suffocating, as every patron felt the imbalance shift. "Let him go," the voice dripped with ice, cutting through the noise of muffled breathing and whispered fears. "You don't know what you're dealing with." The waitress stood her ground, though her determination wavered in the face of his magnetic menace. "You don't belong here. Let him be." She sounded fierce, but the shaking of her hands told a different story, one of raw fear hiding beneath a brave exterior. The millionaire felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. A knot tightened in his stomach, something primal urged him to take action. This was no ordinary confrontation. This went deeper, darker. "What do you want?" he asked, unable to stifle the tremor in his voice. "An item. A trifle, really," the shadow replied, stepping closer. The flickering neon lights reflected off his sleek hair, offering glimpses of a face that shimmered between familiarity and danger. "But it isn't the item itself that you should be worried about. It's what it can do." The newcomer shivered, a flicker of horror passing across his features. "What are you talking about?" The shadow's gaze hardened. "The secret he holds can tear apart everything you think you know. You have no idea what he's involved in." Every person in the diner seemed to lean in, eyes wide with dread, heartbeats synced with the mounting tension. The mother clutched her child to her chest. The boy whimpered softly, sensing the threat racking the room. "You think you can just waltz in here and take him?" The millionaire took a step forward, emboldened by an impulse he couldn't name, something that drove him to protect this man he barely knew. The words were out before he could grasp the full ramifications of his challenge. The shadow smiled, a sharp curve of lips that promised nothing but malice. "There are things far worse than death, my friend. I'd be careful if I were you." The millionaire was now at a crossroads. Every fiber of his being screamed to retreat, yet the glimmer of something greater flared in his mind, a flicker of defiance. "What do you want from him? What is this secret?" The waitress shot him a look that burned. Urgency danced in her eyes. "You don't understand." "You can't," but before she could finish, the door flung open. A gust of wind whipped through, emptying the diner of its warmth as another figure appeared. The newcomer radiated authority and an unsettling energy, cloaked in darkness. Muffled gasps rose, filled with disbelief. Who was this person stepping into the fray? "Enough," the second figure commanded, voice deep and echoing as though it came from beyond the veil of reality itself. "We all know why we're here." The Shadow's demeanor shifted. Tension crackled like electricity, the air heavy with anticipation and dread. "Do you think you can resolve this?" The Shadow challenged, resolve flickering like a dying flame. The waitress's eyes darted between the potential combatants. Her protective stance never wavered. "This ends here. You will not take him." But everything shifted again as the once quiet diner erupted in an unpredictable chaos. Customers began to stir, confusion giving way to a collective pulse of fear, despair threading through the air. The millionaire felt like time had fallen into disarray. Forces beyond his comprehension were at work, threatening to unravel the very fabric of reality. What truth could shatter the world as they knew it? The waitress locked eyes with him, desperation etched in her face. "You must decide now. There's no time." In that moment, he felt the future hinge on this instant, the weight of choices stretching into eternity. As confusion reigned, a sudden crash echoed outside, shaking the diner to its core. The world outside was descending into chaos, but what lay beyond that door? Now armed with doubt, he realized the deeper implications behind those words. With curious tension, he asked himself, was he ready for whatever lay ahead, or would secrecy shatter everything he ever thought he knew? The sudden crash outside sent a pulse of adrenaline through the millionaire. He instinctively glanced toward the door, his heart hammering against his ribs. The commotion outside seemed to merge with the brewing storm inside the diner, an unholy alliance of chaos that threatened to swallow them all. "What was that?" the waitress whispered, voice trembling. She glanced nervously at the children cringing in their booths, eyes wide with fear. The young boy clutched his stuffed animal tighter, seeking solace in the faded fabric. "Stay calm," the millionaire commanded, though he wasn't sure if he was trying to reassure them or himself. There was a feeling, like ice running through his veins, that he had to take charge. "Listen!" the shadow growled, his eyes narrowing at the growing panic washing over the diner. "You're out of your league. Leave now, or things will get worse." "Worse?" The word hung heavy in the air. The waitress took an involuntary step back, and the tension erupted like a punctured balloon. Patrons exchanged hushed whispers, a mix of fear and confusion swirling around them. The collective vibe in the diner charged the atmosphere with an unsettling energy. The millionaire turned, trying to assess the threat looming before him, but he felt the weight of the stranger's presence crushing down on him. "What is this secret you keep talking about?" he demanded, his voice shaking with desperation. "What did that crash mean?" The shadow's lips curled into a sinister grin. "Oh, you're about to find out." From outside, the howling wind seemed to scream, and then a figure stumbled into view, silhouetted against the flashing neon lights. A man with wild, disheveled hair crashed through the door, breathless and wide-eyed. His presence instantly shifted the atmosphere again, a gust of wind pushing through a stagnant room. "Help me!" the newcomer gasped, fear palpable in his voice. His eyes darted around the room, searching for safety. "They're coming!" Panic flared to life, shooting through the heart of the diner like lightning. The millionaire's body reacted before his mind could comprehend. "Get down!" he shouted. He spun to shield the mother and her child as the waitress gasped, instinctively protecting them with her arms. Outside, a low rumble echoed ominously, shaking the very structure of the diner. The millionaire's instincts kicked into high gear. Something unspeakable was approaching. "What did you bring with you?" he asked the newcomer, anger creeping into his voice, but the man only shook his head slowly. They know what he has," he panted, fear etched deep into his features. His words sunk like stones in still water, rippling through the crowd. The shadow took a step back, his confidence wavering for the first time. "What are you talking about?" "The item, the secret. It's not just a problem for you. It's a problem for everyone." Before he could finish, another crash echoed, this time from the back of the diner, as the door creaked ominously. Glass shattered, reflecting the chaos unfurling within the walls. "Run!" the waitress shouted, urgency cutting through her fear as she lunged towards the children. The millionaire stood frozen for just a moment, grappling with his crucial decision. He felt the weight of everything crashing down around him. The drinks were spilling, voices rising, a cacophony of despair, and not a single clear path emerging amidst the confusion. Which way? He yelled, heart racing as uncertainty stormed his mind. As the adrenaline roared in his veins, he saw the shadow calculating, plotting a move, a predator cornered. With every heartbeat, a fracture formed in the reality they shared, a line dividing them from whatever horror approached. Would he stand firm, or would they all be swept under by the tide of a world gone mad? And then, from the shadows, a whisper slithered through the chaos, chilling him to the bone. You can't hide from your fate. Once again, the question loomed: how far would he go to uncover the truth before it consumed them all? The air crackled with tension as the millionaire scanned the terrified faces around him. The waitress, eyes wide with sheer panic, was nearly dragging the frightened children toward the only exit that remained clear. The crashing repeated, heavy footfalls echoing with an eerie confidence through the rear of the diner. Without thinking, he surged forward, forcing his will upon the chaos. Wait! We need to stay together! He shouted, but his voice got lost amid rising screams. Everything moved in slow motion. His heart raced as he stepped toward the back of the diner, compelled by a mix of dread and curiosity. Are you crazy? The shadow, that sinister stranger, interjected, his tone laced with urgency. You need to leave now. They're not just looking for you. I don't care. The millionaire interrupted, desperate to uncover what was hidden behind the sirens of danger. An inexplicable pull gripped him now, a darkness lurking, and he was determined to confront it head-on. Behind him, the waitress cried out in horror. Please help us! She shielded the children protectively, tears glistening in her eyes. Her voice was a desperate plea, cutting through the encroaching terror. The millionaire's instincts roared. He couldn't let fear dictate his actions. Not now. Not ever. Stay safe. He barked back at her, then turned sharply. There it was again, the crashing sound, a deafening crash against the wall, as the lights flickered ominously. The once vibrant diner felt like a cage, the walls closing in with malignant intent. He was nearing the source of the noise when another figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, her face masked by urgency and despair. Please! She cried, hands trembling as she came closer. You have to help us. They're after the secret. The millionaire's breath caught in his throat. What are you talking about? He took another step forward, the desperation in her frantic eyes forcing him to take her seriously. What secret? It's in the diner. Her voice faltered, and panic glimmered across her face. We don't have much time. The others are already here. The shadows stirred uneasily, and the temperature dropped. The shadowy figure, cornered but calculating, withdrew slightly, eyeing both the approaching woman and the millionaire. You don't understand who you're dealing with, he hissed, self-preservation mingling with fear. They'll destroy everything, everyone. But before he could finish, the door at the rear slammed open, splintering wood ricocheting in his ears. A tall figure stepped forward, silhouetted against flashes of blue and red from outside. This wasn't just any ordinary threat. This was the embodiment of chaos itself, towering and forbidding. Is this the man? The newcomer said, his voice a low growl that reverberated through the diner. The air thickened with growing dread as the tension reached a breaking point. The walls themselves seemed to tremble, the diner's very foundation shaking under the weight of the looming confrontation. The millionaire felt the pulse of his heart pounding in his ears, the sound almost drowning out the terror surrounding them all. What do you want? He shouted, his voice strained but defiant. We want what's ours, the figure shot back, a predatory gleam in his eye. And we will not leave without it. The million-dollar question loomed large. What secret hid within those walls? What was at stake beyond mere survival? As fire burned in his resolve, the millionaire felt the cold grip of dread slip away. For just a moment a flicker of purpose ignited within him. You'll have to go through me first, he declared, holding his ground. The chaotic dance of fateful decisions had begun, each moment pushing them deeper into peril. And as if to accentuate the urgency hanging in the air, a blood-curdling scream shattered the fragile tension. This wasn't just about money or power, it was about survival, the very essence of truth that tied them all together in ways yet to be revealed. But was the millionaire truly ready for what the truth entailed? A whisper sliced through the fear that temporarily settled over him. Again, the secret lies within the blood. Before he could process it, shadows shifted, ready to strike. And the storms surged closer. Who would emerge unscathed when the final curtain fell? The shadows gathered, their edges blurring as the tall figure stepped closer, an ominous presence filled with palpable menace. The millionaire squared his shoulders, feeling the weight of every anxious gaze on him. Every second felt like an eternity as the tension wound tighter, a taut string ready to snap. "What do you mean, what's ours?" he pressed, his voice a sharper edge than before. The room held its breath, locked in suspense. The figure paused, a grin stretching across his features, slow, predatory, like a predator savoring the delicious rush of fear intoxicating the air. "You don't even know, do you?" he sneered, inching closer. "The legacy that runs through your veins is the key to power. It always has been." At that moment, the waitress shielded the children a little closer, her eyes darting between the millionaire and the threat that loomed. "Stop!" she shouted, desperation laced into her trembling voice. "This isn't about him. This is about all of us." A flicker of doubt crossed the figure's face, just for a moment, before it hardened again. "Do you even understand what's at stake? Innocent lives are collateral." The millionaire's heart pounded. Innocent lives, how many were hanging in the balance? He felt the weight of that responsibility settle onto his chest like a stone, his instincts screaming at him to protect those behind him. "So you think scaring us will get you what you want? You're mistaken." With each word, his resolve grew clearer, fueled by the desperate need to shield the vulnerable. The figure's grin faltered slightly. "Bravery will not save you. What lies beneath this diner holds secrets, truths that could change the course of everything." The millionaire's gaze flicked to the woman who had pleaded for help. "What did you mean by the secret? Do you know what it is?" The wild glint in her eyes intensified, her voice lowered to a frantic whisper. "They're after your bloodline. The world thinks your family is just wealthy, but there's something darker, much darker, connected to it all. It's hidden here, in this diner." A thunderous crash rattled the diner, echoing like a gunshot through the air. The front windows shattered, raining glass and panic across the floor. The children shrieked, instinctively gathering into the waitress's protective embrace. The millionaire's resolve deepened. He realized there was no time for hesitation. The figure outside was not just a man. He represented a deep-seated fear, an embodiment of everything the millionaire had fought against. He turned back to the arrogant threat, his voice firm. "If you think I'll let you take what's mine without a fight, then you don't know me at all." Suddenly, a loud thump echoed from beneath the diner, a sound so out of place that it sent everyone into a new level of alarm. The very foundations trembled beneath their feet. What the hell was that? The shadowy man hissed, his bravado cracking. The millionaire's heart raced as the tension grew palpable. "It's not just the past," thereafter he murmured under his breath, recalling the woman's frenzied confession. "There must be something in this place that ties us all together. Something that binds our fates." Another tremor ran through the diner, as if the very ground was warning them. "We have to get to the truth before it's too late," he yelled, his voice rising above the chaos. The walls echoed with confusion and discord, but in that moment, illuminated by the flickering lights, he glimpsed a shadowy figure slipping through the back exit, the unexplained presence that loomed just out of reach. Suddenly, an unsettling realization swept over him. Had this all been a setup? Had he been led here under false pretenses? The questions swirled in his mind, each pushing harder against his chest. And just as quickly as it had begun, silence fell heavily over the diner. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the next move, for the darkness that awaited them. But where did this twisted path lead? The millionaire took a deep breath, ready to dive into the unknown, knowing something monumental was about to unfold. What would be uncovered next, and could they survive the truth waiting just beneath the surface? The silence was deafening, each heartbeat echoing in the minds of the diners as they strained to hear an answer. The millionaire's eyes locked onto the back exit. It was as if that dim light signaled the entrance to another world, one steeped in secrets and danger. Is anyone going to go after him? He barked, breaking the stillness. Panic gripped his voice, an urgent plea that echoed through the hushed crowd, awakening them from their stupor. The shadowy figure outside appeared to be the embodiment of their worst fears, slipping silently into the night like a wisp of smoke. The waitress began to inch forward, instinctively ready to follow, but the millionaire's voice halted her. No! We can't just leave them. We need to figure out what's going on. The tremors beneath them returned, stronger this time, sending a violent shake through the floor. Glass fragments crunched underfoot as the others stumbled, eyes wide with dread. The children clung tighter to their protector, their small whimpers breaking the stillness. What's happening? One of the older patrons shouted. Is this place falling apart? No, it's not the diner, the waitress said, her voice steadying even as fear flooded her eyes. It's something else. The millionaire caught her gaze, an electric pulse of understanding flickering between them. You know something, don't you? He urged, taking a step toward her. What is it? She hesitated, glancing back at the ring of wide, terrified eyes, enveloping them all. When I was a child, I overheard whispers about the basement. They said there's a hidden door, one that leads to something. Something what? He pressed, urgency coating his words. Something dangerous, she whispered, almost reverently. Something that connects us all. Before he could pry further, the diner's lights flickered violently, plunging them into darkness for a heartbeat before sizzling back to life. When they did, a chilling figure stood at the edge of the crowd, a menacing aura surrounding him like a storm descending into calm. The shadowy man had returned. Returning where you don't belong, are we? He taunted, eyes glinting with malicious glee. You're too late to stop what's coming. The millionaire tightened his jaw, fists clenched. This man had invaded their sanctuary, had twisted their truths into taunts. We're not afraid of you, he declared, fighting back against the fear tightening his throat. Oh, but you should be, the figure sneered. It's not me you need to worry about. It's your very own bloodline that holds the key, and your ignorance may cost you everything you hold dear. The waitress gasped. What do you mean? Before an answer could escape his lips, the floor quaked again, sending another wave of panic rippling through the crowd. In the chaos, the diner began to darken as thick shadows coiled around the familiar surfaces, wrapping around tables and chairs like hungry vines. Even the children's sobs were swallowed by an ominous hum, resonating from the depths below. The millionaire stood frozen, torn between the escalating threat before him and the chilling possibility that something was indeed buried beneath their feet. Do you hear that? He asked, a creeping dread slicing through his resolve. It's coming from beneath us. Then we must act. The waitress spoke with newfound determination, her hands shaking as she looked around, trying to gather support. We need to go down there. Now! As they gathered their resolve, the figure laughed, a sound that curled like smoke in the air. You think you can confront the truth? You have no idea what you're summoning. With every heartbeat, the tension thickened. Where would this confrontation lead? The millionaire felt the pull of legacy, the weight of existence, and couldn't he shake the feeling that their fates were about to intertwine in a way none of them had anticipated. Together, they moved toward the trembling ground, toward the truth, even as shadows grew darker. Would they emerge whole, or was this the beginning of their undoing? The answer lingered just out of reach, waiting in the darkness. The moment they stepped onto the quaking floor, chaos roared around them. The diner seemed to breathe, walls trembling under a suffocating weight, shadows licking at the corners. The waitress steeled herself, gripping the edge of a nearby table, the wood splintering under her fingers. We have to get to the basement. Stay close. The children whimpered, eyes wide with terror as the veteran patrons of the diner exchanged frantic glances, trying to gauge the wisps of danger circling them. We can't just sprint into darkness. Someone yelled, desperation tinging the air. But the figure, that ominous presence, loomed larger, a specter of their greatest fears. You can't outrun what dwells within, he sang, delighting in their unease. Each step toward the basement is another step toward your doom. Are you ready to face what you've uncovered? A fate worse than darkness waits below, he continued, his voice like ice water running through their veins. What do you think lies hidden in the shadows? Secrets? Or death? The millionaire, heart pounding in his chest, took a deep breath. Enough games. We need to know what you're talking about. He cast his gaze around the room, catching the eyes of the fearful diners as they clamored for answers. We fight together or not at all. The waitress stepped forward, rallying her courage. He trying to scare us. Her voice rang clear, cutting through the unease. But it's just noise. If we find the way down, we might discover how to control whatever is lurking. Even if we aren't prepared for it. A tremulous voice broke through the crowd. Letting fear chain us is the real danger, she replied, determination blazing in her eyes, shaking the clammy fingers of panic that began to wrap around her. Let us go now. The diner shifted again violently, sending silverware clattering to the floor. The figure laughed, a sound that felt like ice scraping against metal. You'll regret this choice. The blood that runs through your veins carries the whispers of your ancestors. Hidden knowledge will surface, and you'll wish you knew less. And with that, the front door swung wide open, a gust of cold air slicing through the room, beckoning them forward. The frightened crowd shifted, torn between the impending darkness and desperate reasoning, but one by one, their resolve staunched the tide of terror. They had come too far. Pushing against the chill that seeped through the doorway, they moved toward the stairs that led down to the basement. Each step felt like a whisper of toothy dread, gnawing away at the last shreds of certainty. Keep going, the waitress urged, but her own heart sputtered, uncertainty coiling around her like tightly wound barbed wire. We're in this together, she reassured the trembling children next to her, squeezing one small hand tightly. They reached the top of the basement door, a trap door leading into darkness. What if we find nothing? One diner murmured, fear etched in their voice. Or we find everything, the millionaire responded. He knew the weight of legacy was dragging him down, but this was it. Either revelation or ruin. As they descended the stairs, the air grew thick, heavy with the scent of damp earth and something metallic that sent shivers crawling along their spines. The light from the diner faded, swallowed by the gnawing shadows that stretched before them. They gathered, each heartbeat audible as they brought their fears into this new realm. But just as they reached the bottom, a space opened wider, revealing not just darkness but hints of what lay beneath. An ancient symbol carved into the ground felt alive. Yet, before anyone could make sense of it, the air thickened. A growl, primal and drowning, reverberated against the stone walls. A shadow shifted. What now? Came the frightened whisper from one of the children, eyes glistening with confusion, rising confusion mixed with bolstering fear. The millionaire felt panic swell, but he swallowed it back down, ready to respond. Stand firm. But both the shadows and the whispers in the dark were growing closer. Suddenly, the echoing laughter of the figure lingered, curling around them like dark smoke, whispering, the past has risen. Who will you sacrifice to seal it away once more? They were about to find out what they would have to confront, and what would emerge from the depths. Whispers thickened as darkness encroached. The only path left was forward. What truly lay in wait? What dark legacies dared to emerge? The echoes of uncertainty danced in the dim glow as they stood at the bottom of the steps. The ancient symbols carved into the stone floor pulsed like a heartbeat, and a sense of trepidation gripped the group. Shadows flickered at the edge of perception, whispering secrets lost to time. The air was thick with the scent of something forgotten, and beneath it all, a chilling growl reverberated through the chamber, primal and fierce. What now? One of the children whispered, clutching the waitress's skirt, eyes wide and shimmering with tears. Together, she said, her voice steady despite the trepidation swirling in her heart. We stand together. The millionaire felt the weight of his heartbeat resonate in the silence. He turned to the group, their faces lit by the faint light filtering down. This is it. Whatever cries out from the dark, we face it as one. Our strength is in our unity. Shadows shivered near the walls, eager to consume, ready to prey upon their fears. The sinister laugh echoed in his mind, taunting them from the unseen. Sacrifice, it hissed, slinking into their consciousness. What will you give? What will you lose? The waitress gripped the hand of a small girl, her knuckles pale. We've come too far to turn back now, she said fiercely, a spark igniting in her eyes. The millionaire nodded, determination flooding his veins. We find the truth hidden here. The secret that connects us all resides within these walls. Do you really think we can control whatever is lurking? Asked an elder diner, his voice quaking. Control? The millionaire replied, a glint of resolve sharpening his words. Maybe not. But we can confront this darkness head-on. The shadows shifted, swirling around them, and the growl deepened, filling the space with an oppressive weight. Just then, the symbols etched into the ground flickered with an unearthly light, casting ghostly silhouettes across their faces. The air charged with anticipation, a warning and a beckoning. Look! Thundered the waitress, rushing to the center where the symbols pulsed, her voice rising above the noise of dread. There's something here. We need to activate it. With a collective breath, the group stepped forward, the urge to run merging with the fierce need to confront their fate. The millionaire placed his hand on the largest symbol, the surface humming beneath his palm. Heat radiated, spreading through his body, as the symbol glowed brighter, echoing the heartbeat of an ancient spirit. The shadows recoiled, a jarring shriek escaping their depths. Foolish mortals! A voice like thunder roared, swelling around them. You dare summon the past? You know not what you awaken! We know we have to try! The waitress shouted, passion driving her forward. We will not be sacrifices to your secrets. The growl morphed into a wailing lament, echoing against the stone walls. You cannot escape your bloodline's curse. You are tethered to the darkness. No more! The millionaire roared, channeling every ounce of conviction. We will rewrite our legacy today. In unison, they pressed their hands against the glowing symbol, a surge of energy pulsing through them. The chamber quaked, the shadows twisted, trying to claw their way back towards the fissure of reality they sought to ignore. Wisps of dark smoke enveloped them, wrapping around their legs like tendrils grasping for dear life. No! He shouted, muscles straining against the weight of the darkness. We stand united. We face you. Both light and dark collided, twisting like a storm brewing, forces battling for dominance. You think you can change the past? The voice thundered, but the momentum shifted as their will coalesced into a brilliant surge of light, illuminating the depths of fear. Fury ignited in their hearts, each soul pulling strength from the other. The waitress stood firm, her back straight, eyes shooting fire. This ends now. And as the light overtook them, the shadows screeched in torment, retreating against the merging light. The glow expanded, swallowing the darkness, and with a deafening roar, it burst forth, shattering the very foundations that had kept their truths buried for so long. The dust settled, silence enfolding them. Light dimmed, revealing a pristine floor. Once hidden symbols now faded but etched into memory. The millionaire looked around at the scattered diners, all breathing heavy, confusion mixed with hope. Did we do it? Someone whispered, glancing at the shadows now retreating into the corners, evaporating into fading echoes. Perhaps we've taken the first step, the millionaire mused, breathless yet filled with relief. The waitress smiled, embracing the children and hoping they could finally breathe free from fear's grasp. A new dawn had broken, pulled into the world amidst the horrors they defaced. The love and fears tethered to them had unraveled their secrets, and finally, they could forge ahead into the light. They were free to write a new story, one of resilience, truth, and togetherness. The millionaire's heart swelled with newfound purpose. Let's go home, he said, ready to confront the world outside, realizing that while shadows may linger, the light would always shine through. As they stepped back towards the entrance, an air of possibility swirled around them. Together, they would heal from the scars that connected them, left behind in the diner's depths. United, they claimed their narratives anew, promising never to forget and never to abandon their connection. The diner faded into a memory, and as the door clicked shut behind them, a sense of closure settled. What had been lost to shadows was now reclaimed. The journey had only just begun. Now, let us not waste any more time here. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories we share. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and keep this community growing. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Let us hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your engagement makes all the difference, and only true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions. Let's do this.